And welcome everyone. Today is May 27th, 2025. We are very, very happy to welcome back Moshe Gold, good friend of our shul. And Moshe is our point of contact. I know so many people have asked and contacted Moshe to make tours, and whenever he can, he does, and whenever he can't, he always hands off to respected colleagues that he has, and we're very, very grateful for that contact. I don't want to take too much time. We're just happy to have you back, Moshe, with us. And what's going on? Let's check up with you. Here we go. Go ahead.
Okay, shalom everyone. Boker tov. Good morning. It's good to be back with Highland Park. I was lucky enough a couple weeks ago to be guiding a solidarity trip of 14 men from the Federation of Southern New Jersey. It could be that a picture or two on this presentation, I always use a lot of photos. You'll see people that maybe you know. But I also heard, and I will say this, that I heard from another famous New Jersey federation, the Federation of Central New Jersey. They asked me to be their guide next spring. They're planning a trip to Israel. So you probably maybe heard about that. There's all these trips going on in New Jersey, a lot of groups coming to Israel. With that, saying that, most of the time us tour guides were home. Our life has changed dramatically since October 7th. Of course, without comparing to the reservists and to the families who have loved ones in Gaza and on the border of Lebanon and even in Syria, our lives have totally changed because tourism is really down. And I am going to touch on that as well. What are we doing right now? What am I doing right now? How does this affect my family? And um, how does guiding or educating, teaching Israel change during a time like this? It's still happening. It's a process that's still happening. But before we jump into all those things, and I'm going to try and share with you a lot of what I've seen in places I went to and people I met, and especially in the past few months since January of 2025, to bring you in a little bit to what's going on in Israel and tourism, but also what's the sentiment? What is Israeli society thinking about these days? I want to start by saying that Yaron Lishinsky and Sarah Milgram, you heard those names from Washington, D.C. Yaron is from Bet Zayit, from my community. The two that were
Gonna say,
murdered
yeah.
the other day. He's from my community. I don't know him personally. There's about 2,000 people living in my community. I do know the name. The funeral had a lot of cars. I was coming back from a guiding day, and it was packed in the Moshav, which is usually a very quiet place. So, all of Israel was touched from this. Another connection to to Jews in the States and to Jews throughout the world with that terrible terrorist attack that happened in Washington, D.C. But specifically, my Moshav as well was very much touched by this. I want to actually start off with this picture, which reflects, I think, and just give me a thumbs up again if you see like a full screen of the flag of Israel at the
We're
Western
good.
Wall. Do you see it? Do you see it?
We
Okay.
see it, yeah.
Yeah.
This is a picture from yesterday, 58 years since the Six-Day War, Milchemet Sheshet Hayamim. Many of you may remember this moment, this dramatic moment in history. This is something they do every year on Yom Yerushalayim, Jerusalem Day, at the Western Wall. There's nobody standing under the flag, but after they have the flag out right in front of the Kotel, right in front of the Western Wall, there's a prayer that's said together, and it's a big moment. It always marks Yom Yerushalayim here. Other things also mark Yom Yerushalayim. This year, unfortunately, again, there was a beautiful march with flags through the streets of Jerusalem, also through the different quarters, even the Muslim quarter of the old city of Jerusalem. Some of the people marching with flags, and I'm talking mostly about 16, 18, 20-year-olds that are national religious, we're getting into fights, fist fights with Arab owners of shops in the Muslim quarter, specifically on a street called Hagai, which means the Valley Street. This happens every year, unfortunately. It's kind of like it gets heated up because they're singing songs of Jerusalem, the Jewish people marching with flags, and then you have Arabs from the old city standing there, and sometimes the extremists are trying to pick a fight. I'm talking about both sides, but I am saying that with all the beauty of this day, sometimes this gets a lot of media. Rightfully so. We should hear about this and not ignore it because it's a problem and it shouldn't be like that. The violence shouldn't be the symbol of this day. In a different part of Jerusalem yesterday, people had a sign out, which you could see in the center of the photo. I'll read the Hebrew: Pidyon Shvuim Mitzvah Gdola. Bringing back the hostages and paying the price for them is a big mitzvah. And there's the yellow symbol of freeing, getting back the hostages, marching in Jerusalem 58 years after 1967. There's still 58 people that we need to get back home. Most of them are probably not alive. But the slogan in Israel that we've been hearing every day, not only from the families of the hostages or their friends, but the slogan is always like, bring back the hostages to a normal life back in their home and bring back the bodies to kvura re'uya, to a kvura, to burial that is honorable, that has kavod. And with that, I want to start every session I start, even when I'm guiding. Tomorrow I'm guiding in the old city of Jerusalem. I make a point of always starting with this tradition. It's called the count from darkness to light. Kind of like Sfirat HaOmer from Pesach to Shavuot that we're in right now. This is a count that my friend Etzion from Kibbutz Yavne started immediately after the hostages were taken from their homes or from battle. And today is, I'll translate the Hebrew on the bottom. This is a text that I get at 9 p.m. every evening. And it goes like this. Today is 599 days that are 1 year, 7 months, 21 days in the darkness. May our loved ones be saved from the ones trying to harm them. May they come back to the light of their home in shalom, in peace, and in good health. Amen. And then on the bottom it says Sfira, which means counting, 710.com. www.sfira710.com. This can be something that you also receive to your phones. I think also to your emails if you want to be part of the counting. For me, it's my way to bring more people when I meet them into this story, whether they're Jews or not Jews, whether they know the number of days or not, just to be with those families, to be with our brothers and sisters that are still there. And tonight, Israel time, in just a couple hours, it's going to be 600 days in the darkness. I couldn't believe it. But early this morning, when I was going over this presentation and tweaking things, something came out on Ynet, and I want to translate what I saw. You see Witkoff, and you see Bibi Netanyahu, and in the background there's Gaza and the leader of Hamas over here, one of the leaders. And then it says in the top, May 27th, 29th day of ER, Witkoff and Adam Buller are saying to the families of the hostages, there is a very good chance to move forward significantly soon to get a deal. So I got to tell you that I stopped breathing when I heard this. I don't know about you. I personally, many days and many nights, I don't really get total 100% rest. They're always in my minds. I'm a little bit almost like obsessed with going down to the Gaza envelope and teaching those stories, and not obsessed in a bad way, but I need to know. I want to know the stories so I can tell them. I want to understand all the details. Still so many things we don't understand, even a year and 8 or almost 9 months later. And now we're hearing that even after the failure that we heard about a week ago, right? There's fighting in Gaza, but in the Gaza Strip, and there was negotiations in Qatar and Doha, and they said, oh, Hamas is not giving in, the Israeli government is not, giving in or not making it happen as well, and there's no deal. And suddenly you hear this, and then you should just see the comments. You know how some articles have comments, talkbacks, and people are just saying, Halevai. We just wish that this is true. We wish that there's many things that we don't know because we really hope this is moving forward. There they are, Adam Buller and Witkoff. I want you to know whether whoever you voted for in the States is for Israelis, whether Israelis are on the left or on the right. We, of course, care about what's happening to Israel and the effect on Israel. So when we look at Witkoff and we look at this guy, Adam Boehler, and when we look at Trump, we may think a lot of other things, yes or no, about different fields of politics. But when we talk about Israel, hostages came home after Trump came into office. Of course, people have their opinions about Biden as well, helping Israel, maybe not helping Israel. Trump changes his mind all these different things. But in the end of the day, what I'm trying to say, it's not only about politics. Israelis are looking at Trump. Israelis are looking at Witkoff. Another thing that you need to know is a lot of people in Israel, I'm not saying everyone, are upset with the government, upset with our leadership. Our chief of staff took responsibility and resigned. The head of our Secret Service is leaving his job very soon. After being fired by Bibi, the head of the intelligence resigned. The head of all these organizations, as far as security, resigned. Bibi has not shown any words of saying, no matter if it's I'm to blame or not, I did not, he did not take responsibility publicly yet. And he hasn't gone down to the Gaza envelope yet to visit the kibbutzim. Witkoff is going everywhere. He comes to Israel, and within like 3 hours, he's down at Kibbutz Nir Oz. He's down at the hostage square. He goes to Jerusalem. He meets the hostage families. These are hostage families that he's meeting. He's here to look them in the eye and tell them the truth. I'm working for this. I'm trying to make it happen. Not only Don Alexander.
Moshe, we lost you there. Okay.
It's amazing and better that it would happen, right? And I think we understand that, all of us right now, and people are looking at these leaders, are looking at the United States. I want to move to a totally different thing, and I'll come back to the hostages in a moment. But, one of the things I discussed with you, Rabbi, a few days ago when we spoke was, I just want to tell you a little bit about my life. And maybe through my life, you already know me a little bit. I also know some of you guys as well in many ways. You'll learn a little bit about what we're worried about, what we're thinking about, what life looks like in a time like this, especially from a perspective of a tour guide as well. This is my family. My girls are going to be 3 in July. The one on the right is my wife, Vered, and the one next to her in the brown and white coat is Carmi. And then there's little Shai, and then myself. We are trying to shelter our girls. I'm not only talking about the sirens and the missiles coming here. We don't have a safe room in our home. We go to the safest place in our home because we have a minute and a half. But we're trying to have them live a normal life. And it just occurred to me while I was preparing this session that they're not 3 years old. A majority of their life, they've been in war. The other day, when the Houthi were shooting a missile, and I got a pre-siren announcement on my WhatsApp, there's a pre-siren announcement saying in a minute and a half or two, there's going to be a siren. So start getting prepared. I got ready and, I went to my girls. They were sleeping. And then suddenly the siren came very quickly. It should have been a little bit later, but I thought it would be later. And then Carmi wakes up. This was like 8:30 p.m. And she says, Oi, azaka, azaka. Azaka means siren. Where they go to Gan, they're taught that during the azaka, they're supposed to go into the safe room. We don't have a safe room. So I stood by her, I held her hand, and I said, Kami, akol beseder. And I tried to be as calm as I could. And immediately she went back to sleep and she was okay. I think I gave her the right. But then I was thinking to myself, and I have to be honest, what am I doing? Like, we don't really have a safe room for them. If God forbid a missile from Yemen lands in our area, even a shrapnel, a little piece of that huge missile, that could be a huge issue. There were dozens and dozens of Houthi missiles where we got sirens. I'm not talking about the Hamas missiles of October 7 and after, but this is something we've been living with. We're trying to give our girls a safe, good, smiley, loving life. This is Purim for them. For them, that's our little garden. This is my dad, who's 87 years old, and my mother walking with their youngest granddaughters to see this, to see the beautiful anemones and poppies that are right by a moshav near Kibbutz Gezer. Gezer means carrot, but you may know Kibbutz Gezer because there's a lot of Anglos, a lot of Americans on this kibbutz. I'm trying to say we're living a normal life. For me, my therapy is going out whenever I can. Life has changed in the past 3 years since I have these wonderful girls, these treasures of ours. But going to the Golan Heights, going to find out and see new places I can show other people, and just going for myself as well on different hikes. You know as well that I'm a photographer, mostly landscape photography. And what I did this year was just like any other year, except there were sirens on the way going everywhere. I went up north to the Hula Valley to see the cranes. I saw tens of thousands of them. I looked at Mount Hermon and went to the top of Mount Hermon when I could until the army closed it down because, they took over the highest point of Mount Hermon, as you know. And I just kept doing the things that I do as Moshe. That's most of the time because I didn't have that much work. I'm lucky. I had a little bit more work than other guides around me because of my connections with the Ramah world and solidarity trips and some individuals coming to Israel. I'd say I've been working about 30% or 25% of what I usually would be working in the past time since the beginning of the war. So Israel is still beautiful. The juxtaposition between the beauty of the land and the sirens that are starting and the missiles that don't stop and the constant worrying and fear that the next names we hear on the radio we may know.
Come
And what do
here.
I mean? I mean the 6 o'clock notice in the 6 o'clock notice in the morning when they say it's allowed to publicize now after we told the parents or the bereaved family that this and this people were killed in battle or killed in service. So this is something we live with every day. All my nephews have been in hundreds of days of reserves. All of my nephews, men and women in their 20s, beginning of 20s, late 20s, in different jobs, some of them elite units, some of them air traffic control, some of them intelligence, all kinds of different jobs. They've been in reserves for many, many, many days. And a regular year, when there's no war, up to 30 days a year of reserves up until age 40. They've done hundreds since the beginning of the war. This is a picture or two that I took yesterday of these beautiful sunflowers. I just thought it was very symbolic with the yellow color and this statement that I always live according to, which it's a song by Ehud Banai, one of our famous singers, and he says the following. He says, it's always the darkest before the sun comes up, right? So before you have that light, it can be very, 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 very dark. But one little patch of light can really make that effect and change things, and we're really hoping for that. How has my life as a tour guide changed? This is my tour guide certificate. I'm standing in Tel Aviv on the border with Jaffa. Even going to the regular quote unquote sites has changed. I know all of you have been to Israel pretty much, or most of you, or vast majority. And when you've been in your several times, maybe you went to Masada and you probably went to the Western Wall and you probably went to Yad Vashem, the Holocaust Museum. I just said the 3 most visited sites in Israel. But how has that changed for tour guides and for tourism? Right before the war, we had a fantastic year of tourism up until October 6th, including. There were 4 million people that were coming that year to Israel. It was down to 10% up until a few months ago. I think it went up a little bit, but here's what happened 2 weeks ago. You know about this. The Ben Gurion airport got a direct hit by a missile from Yemen. You know about this, right? You heard about this. I was guiding the 14 men from New Jersey when a missile hit the airport, and then all the flights were canceled. They were with United, so they had to get out through Europe. And basically, the entire trip of 9 days was talking about how do we get home through Europe And why didn't we order El Al tickets even though they were more expensive? Of course, there weren't enough El Al tickets, so that's why they didn't do it. But in any case, things are changing dramatically. When I go to Masada, it's not only about the number of people. Just the rabbi, as we were discussing the other day, for me, Masada now, I had my like Masada drill. This is what I do with families. This is what I do with younger kids. This is what I do with students. Like Columbia University, I guided twice. I guided all Yale. How do I teach them this? How do I teach scholars from the university or whatever, people that have been many times? How could I make it special for them? Well, that's all different now because when I talk about, one of the slogans of Masada, by this flag and a little bit to the right, there's a place where I always like look out to the distance to one of the Roman camps. And I say, Masada will never fall again. Shenit metzada lo tipol. It will never fall again. And then I put these 8 stones on the ground and then I say to the birthright group or the family or whatever it is, what are these 8 stones representing? And why is there 1 stone in the middle? And we come to different answers. Oh, it's like the Chanukiah, 8 and 1. Oh, it's like the state of Israel. We have all these enemies around us and Israel is in the middle. And all these different explanations, but I feel like especially today, the conversations with the few people that are on Masada, because there's really not a lot coming. Some of the times I went, there were literally 10 or 20 people in the entire mountain. Just understand that this is a site that gets over 1 million people per year as visitors, but nobody was here. What does it mean Masada will never fall again? What is the modern day Masada? Maybe that's Israel, right? Maybe we're surrounded like the 8 Roman legions around us, or the 8 stones that I was trying to have that represent. What does that mean to us today? Is that even true? Can we just say that and be like, yeah, it's never going to fall? Or do we need to do something about it? And I feel like these conversations become very much connected to October 7th. And the slogan or the title is always like, I used to say Masada of the 10th of Av, not the 9th of Av, not Tisha B'Av. But what happens, after the destruction of the temple? Or what happens after the first destruction of Masada in the year 73? Now the question is, how are Jews supposed to react? What is the best way for us to never let our values, country, people fall again? Our Masada. How do we make sure it doesn't fall again? It's also the same and also even more intense when you walk into this place. And you know what I'm showing you right now. This is the Yad Vashem. Yad Vashem Memorial and Name, a museum, the Museum of Holocaust in Israel that's been, it was inaugurated in 1953, 5 years after the state was established. Millions of people come here from all over the world. So important to keep teaching this, especially because in 20 years or even less, I don't know how many more Holocaust survivors will be able to tell their stories in trips to Poland or in the communities around the world. So coming to Yad Vashem is about educating and making sure that there's a message that comes out. What is the message right now after October 7th? When I took teens here a couple weeks ago, Israeli teens, they were like, here's a sentence, listen to this. I wonder what you think about this. Maybe write in chat or we can continue discussing. But you're like, what we had on October 7th, these are teens, 16, 17 years old, Israelis. It was like the Holocaust for one day. This was like the Holocaust. They came into our homes. They did terrible things. They looted, they raped, they kidnapped us, they mutilated terrible things. This was a Holocaust of one day. And they're not just saying that because Chaim Yelin from Kibbutz Be'eri, the leader of the kibbutz, one of the leaders of the whole region, who was also a member of Knesset, Chaim Yelin said immediately after October 7th, he survived from Kibbutz Be'eri. He said, what we went through is a Holocaust of one day. This area used to be 95% heaven to live in this area by the Gaza Strip and the Gaza envelope. But now it feels like this was the 5% that was hell, right? Can we even compare the Holocaust to this? What kind of messages come out when you're guiding a place like this and you have a sum up session? Well, I could tell you that especially with youth and with birthright age, 18 to 30 years old, also, adults a little bit older, it comes up. Okay, so we're talking about the Holocaust. We're talking about resilience. We're talking about how the survivors rebuilt their life, and also some of them rebuilt the state of Israel and the Jewish world also outside of Israel. How do we continue now after what happened to us on October 7th? So you're going to a site, but you have to understand where your people are coming from, the people you're guiding. And you have to understand that I'm affected by it as well. Every tour guide went through things, is going through things, is worried, is afraid, is passionate. All these things together are changing the way I think, in many ways, I could see it in myself, the way I guide, the way I bring things. At first, I was very emotional. I would go down to the Gaza envelope, and it was hard. It was really hard. It's still hard, but it's different. It's different because every time I come there, I learn different things. I'm talking to different people. I'm not getting used to seeing what atrocities happened and how terrible they were, but I'm back again and again and again. It's just different every time. 2 days ago, I took this family from New York, the people on the left, to Sderot, into the Gaza envelope. They haven't been here for a couple years, but they've been many times to Israel. This guy on the right is a guy from the Coalition of Trauma in Israel, working in Sderot together with this woman who's the director of this organization, helping people that went through trauma. And we just heard the siren, so we ran at the lookout over Gaza from Sderot. Maybe you've been there. We heard a siren. And very quickly we understood, my phone told me it's not really going to be in the area of Sderot, so we were good. But I insisted that we would stay the full 10 minutes that they tell you to wait until we left the safe room. This was the first time they heard a siren. This was the first time for these American Jews that in a way they felt a little bit of the intensity of, yeah, we're touring in Israel, but suddenly we're hearing sirens and there's a threat to our lives. The missile ended up landing in a different area. Everybody in Israel is affected by what's going on. It's not only it's not only the soldiers in Gaza, it's every part of our life. Our culture, the Eurovision contest, Yuval Raphael became like a national symbol of resilience and hope. She survived the safe room after being in the Nova party near Kibbutz Re'im that was from the October 6th to October 7th in the morning, 6:29. Those hundreds of missiles come down over the Nova, and 4,300 missiles in that one day come down over Israel. She survives because she runs to a safe room and she lays under people that were injured and killed. She gets later on to a program called The Voice. You have it in the States as well, I believe. I think we copied it from you. And where they choose the best singer to go to Eurovision, a contest with all the other countries in Europe for the best song. Her song, did anybody hear about this? Did you hear about her did you hear her song?
Many of us
Well, her
did, but
song
tell us, yeah.
her song is called New Day Will Rise. There's nothing else I, as an Israeli, as a Jew, as a human being, needed in that moment. And maybe it's not the best song in the world, but she came in second place because she was an amazing performer. And I think the message that she was giving in this song, she didn't write the words, it was a different woman that wrote the words. A new day will rise, even after all this. So we're going to hear a little part of it, but I want you to understand how this young, early 20s, fantastic woman who's a new singer comes to the Eurovision in front of hundreds of millions of viewers across Europe and the world. She's standing there in the hall itself. She's yelled at Free Palestine in different words that were yelled at her. Flags of, Palestine, Palestinian Authority, all that, the PLO right in front of her. And she sings. And if there's a meaning to the word Tkuma, Taf Kuf Vav Mem Hey in Hebrew, which means to rise up, this is what it means, to rise up from those, maybe not ashes, but to rebuild your life. A new day will rise. Let's hear a little part of it. Give me a thumbs up if you can hear the voice.
We can, go ahead.
Good?
Not yet.
Sorry, do you hear the voice?
It didn't. The sound's not coming in yet. But go ahead. I don't.
No
Yeah.
sound?
No, a little bit.
My colors in the gray, my only wish upon a star, sunshine in the day, the only song that my piano ever plays. And even if you say goodbye, you'll always always be around to lift me up and take me high. Keep my feet close to the ground. Are you proud of me tonight? Dreams are coming true. I choose the light, nothing to lose. If I lose you, new day will rise, life will go on. Everyone cries, don't cry alone. Darkness will fade, all the pain will go by, but we will stay, even if you say goodbye.
New day will rise, right? That's what her song is about. I'm just gonna try and get back here. 1 second. Again. There we go. Yes. Moving forward. Why is it not giving me it? 1 second. We'll do this very quickly. The next one is really a safe room, just like hers, on the side of the road. And again, you can see the safe room. Just give me a thumbs up so I know you can see this.
So we're seeing it, yeah.
You're seeing it. This is one of the safe rooms, the one where people ran from the Nova, or really any time if you're living in the Gaza envelope. I don't know if you've been there or not yet, but even before the war, this existed so that if there's missiles, you can go into the safe room. You probably remember the story I told you a couple months ago when we met about a Ner Shapira who went into a safe room like this after dancing with his best friend called Hirsch Goldberg Poland. And they went in to the safe room after being at the Nova, dancing all night. This is Saturday morning, Shabbat morning. And they're in a safe room because there's so many missiles. Ner Shapira stood in front of the other 26 people in the safe room and he said to them, my name is Ner. My real job is I'm an elite unit in the Israeli army. Don't worry, I will protect you. And then when the grenades were thrown in by the terrorists who came there, these people were sheltered by missiles, but the grenades would kill them. He threw out 8 grenades, one after the other. And then in the 9th grenade, it already came in because he was hit by an RPG. His parents decided to publish his music on the 22nd of May, May 22nd, just a couple days ago. His music was out here in Jerusalem. One of his songs was actually a song called, it was about Jerusalem. It's a rap song about Jerusalem and how we should be together. He is the one standing in the front of the safe room. The guy in the front of the picture on the right, you see his head, is it taking the picture inside the safe room while these grenades are being thrown. So I hope you understand this picture. This picture was shown to the parents of Ner Shapira, who died trying to protect the other 26 people. 16 others were murdered. 4 were taken hostage. One of those 4 is still in Gaza. His name is Alon Ahel. But this picture was taken with a cell phone of a guy sitting on the floor, cramped together with all the rest, looking at the back of Ner Shapira, who's waiting for grenades to come in, and then he's going to throw them out. One thing you need to know about grenades, when I was in infantry, you go like this, 21, 22, boom. So after the 2.5 seconds, it's going to blow up. If you don't catch it in time, you're endangering not only your life, but everybody's life. He saved so many lives. 7 people did survive. You could see there's a red line on the left that says area that is safe to stand in, and the area that's closer to the entrance of the safe room and to the road says on the right side of that red line, an area that is not protected. So this is a song of Ner Shapira. I'm just going to give you a little part of it, just so you get the feel.
Can't really hear it. There you go. A little bit more.
אם לא אעלה את ירושלים על ראש שמחתי. אם לא אעלה את ירושלים על ראש שמחתי. That was the voice of Ner Shapira. You want to hear the music of this hero for so many people and inspiration? That is the music of Ner Shapira that his parents are publishing right now, and it's online. I want you to know that this place, the safe room of Ner Shapira, this is where everybody's going now in Israel. If there's one place where people want to go, unfortunately or fortunately, and I think it's going to be like this for a while, when people come to Israel, they're going to want to go to the Gaza envelope to learn more about what happened. And one of the places they go to is Sderot, the other is the Nova Festival area, and then the safe room of Ner Shapira. For me personally, because this is where I want to focus in the next few moments, for me, it's important to tell the stories of the people. In 2018, I believe it was, when you came to Israel, a lot of you went on a trip together. I was astonished at the itinerary that you guys created because it was different from the regular, like, history, archaeology, tourist site kind of thing. These were second and third and 10th timers that came to Israel from your community. And we visited people to learn about the society, to learn about the different narratives, to learn about Israel. Moshe and Eliadu Chayon were killed trying to protect their own community of the town of Ofakim. This was the first funeral I went to on the week of October 7th, because the sister of Moshe is Odelia, who's a good friend of mine, and she lost her nephew and her brother. They were trying to protect people in homes in Ofakim, and it says, when the first sounds of the gunshots were sounded in Ofakim by the Hamas terrorists, Moshe and Eliad, the father and son, went out of their home and tried to protect with their own body the people of Ofakim. The slogan of the lecture in their memory is Lirot et ha'or betoch ha'afela, to see the light inside the darkness. They're friends of Eliad, this 25-year-old guy who went out with his father to save lives and was killed himself, are smiling. And on their shirt, they have the picture, kind of like the profile picture of Eliad, their buddy, who was always about happiness and about taking care of the people around him. His family decided to build a synagogue in Ofakim, in the place where they were killed in battle against the terrorists, trying to save lives of Jews who live there. And the slogan of the Beit Knesset, if you look to the top, it says, Kulanu Shutafim. We are all partners. And I believe that they're not only talking about the people of Ofakim or the family of Ochayon. They're talking about this necessity in the people of Israel to understand finally that we are one people. The Hamas never cared and never does care what we voted or who we voted for. It doesn't matter how old we are, apparently. It doesn't matter where we live, apparently, if it's Tel Aviv or Kibbutz Nir Oz or Be'eri or Sderot or Ofakim. And it doesn't matter if we're righty or lefty in our politics. Kulanu Shutafim. And then it says this is where will be built a Beit Knesset and a center, kind of like a JCC, named after Moshe and Eliad Ochayon. For
Moshe,
me, those two are, I'm sorry?
I just wanted to add something, because you had there a slide with the 929. Moshe Chayon, he was the director of the One Parak of Tanakh a Day project.
Exactly.
That's exactly. And
He and Rabbi Benny Lau are like
exactly.
these. They always talk about Rabbi Akiva and Bar Kochva, right? Bar
Yeah.
Kochva was the body. He was the fighter. He was the general. Some people thought he was the Messiah. Let's not go there right now. But Rabbi Akiva was the spirit. So in 929 chapters in the Tanakh, every day you study a chapter, as you know. And Rabbi Benny Lau is the spirit, is the Rabbi Akiva. This guy, Moshe, is the guy who makes things happen. He's the guy with the initiative that knows how to turn the wheels and make things happen. He was a big loss not only to his friends and to the 929 project of studying Torah all over the Jewish world, but also, I think, to the world, because he's a doer. He's about tikkun olam. The real heroes are people like this. But you know what? If I say the word heroes today and don't talk about the miluimnikim, the word reserves is miluimnikim in Hebrew, and the word miluim in Hebrew comes from the word maleh, or filled up. They are filling up a need that the army needs. These reservists are in the army for hundreds and hundreds of years. I told you before in our previous presentation months ago that there's really a huge respect ever since the war to all of these soldiers, whereas there is a lot of critique on the generals, and specifically the generals, the highest ones, and the chief of staff and the head of intelligence, who made a lot of mistakes pre-October 7th. Again, all of those big leaders, big generals took responsibility, and we have a new chief of staff. But the soldiers were not blaming. right? We're definitely not blaming the reservists that ran out of their homes in the morning of October 7th and later, and for hundreds of years are serving us. So there's a guy called Hanoch Daum. Hanoch Daum lives in Efrat in the Gush Etzion, south of Jerusalem, and he started this project of taking care of the families of the reservists. What does it mean for you if you have 4 or 5 or 6 or 7 kids and your husband or wife, women too, go on reserves, some of them, what happens if one of the parents is not home for hundreds of days? How do we help support them? When the reservists came back from Miluim, a lot of them are freelancers. They lost not only their, not a job, but clients. So yes, they got Social Security, but they lost so many connections, basically trying to support the reservists in every economic way and to make sure that we do what the Americans do when we meet soldiers. Literally go up to soldiers, and I do this now, I learned this from you. I say, thank you for your service. And if they're getting a falafel, I am buying your falafel. And I very often give them a hug because for me, I don't think there's anybody that I feel more moved and proud of than these amazing, amazing reservists. I'm 49 years old. I'm not in reserves anymore. I was until age 40, 41. But to me, they're just amazing. They put their lives in danger for us. Another hero I want to mention for me personally that I always tell the story of, you probably saw the picture of this man who in his 82nd year of his life is brought out of over a year of being a hostage in Gaza. His name is Gadi Moses. He's from a kibbutz that's called Nir Oz in the southern Gaza envelope. He comes back to his home after this horrible ceremony where him and a member of his kibbutz, Arbel Yahud, are first time they meet. In the background, you see leaders of Hamas, all the propaganda, and then in Hebrew it says a decision of release, as if this was like, oh, a really nice deal, whatever. Real torture that they went through, but that's not the point. The point is that people like Gadi Moses, for us, they became the new heroes, not as far as the strength that's in their muscle, but this article really stands out to me. Here's the first words he says in the article, right? The slogan of the first interview he gives, Tzarich livnot et hakibbutz mechadash. We need to rebuild our kibbutz. We are on it. Gadi Moses, 81 years old, is saying, no matter what, I am coming back to Nir Oz. That is 96% of the houses were either shot at or totally destroyed. So nobody lives there other than 1 or 2 families right now. I was there 2 days ago. I'll tell you about that. We need to go back there and rebuild. If it's not all of you coming back, that's fine. I am going back to those potato fields that go all the way to the border, and I'm going to be all the way to the border growing my Zionism, my potatoes all the way to the border. Another inspiration to me and to all Israelis and to, I think, to people around the world is Eli Sharabi that lost his entire family that you see in the picture. I'm sure you heard of him. He's always talking here in Israel and all over the world. He lost so much. He was released from being a hostage. His situation medically was horrible, but he decided to take all of that energy coming out here, and he starts saying, his slogan, by the way, is there's no righty or lefty. They're just straight ahead. That's where our people need to go. Right and left I don't care about that, about the sides. We need to go straight forward and not look back. We have to remember the people that we lost, but we have to get up on our feet and keep moving forward. And I know because I lost my family, he says. And then there's the family of Bibas. And this is Yarden Bibas that you all know of. And of course, Shiri and Kfir and Ariel, and he's out there in Israel, in the hostage square, and all over Israel, giving the message that we need to continue to fight for the hostages coming out. That he says it's dangerous to continue fighting in Gaza Strip because then hostages can be harmed. And whatever we need to do, first we need to get out the hostages. He says, I'm not going to go back to my normal life, if you could call it normal, after losing 2 sons and my entire family and my wife Shiri, until the hostages that were with me are back home. When Shiri was finally brought back home, of course, Hamas tried to cheat us, bringing us the wrong body. kind of like sticking the knife in and turning it. There's so much suffering. What a terrible few days there were. Here's the Nachal Brigade officers bringing it across the border into Israel, and here's thousands of people from the center of Israel where the body was checked and DNA and all that, all the way down to Kibbutz Nir Oz, an hour and a half away, along every junction, yellow flags, people with flags, just saluting and showing respect to the Bibas family. One last hero I have to mention is Emily. Emily from Kibbutz Kfar Aza. It says in Hebrew, victory. She's symboling victory. During the attack in Kfar Aza, she lost her two middle fingers. But the first thing she does when she's released as a hostage, she picks up her hand like this and makes that symbol of victory. You can kill my spirit. You could keep me underground in the tunnels, but I'm always going to be resilient. I'm always going to have tikva, and I'm going to be back. That's Emily. I want to continue and say that for me personally, I put a big emphasis on these groups. And this is a group from New Jersey, 14 men from southern New Jersey. Maybe some of them you know. This is going to the Wolfson Hospital. See, tourism right now is not about going just to Masada, just to Yad Vashem, or just to a beautiful site of flowers. It's about going to places and meeting people like this guy in the center, who's the head of the trauma unit, who, by the way, he's actually first from the States, and he comes to Israel, makes Aliyah, and here he runs the trauma unit of Wolfson, which had thousands of injured soldiers, injured civilians, and treated so much trauma in the past, ever since October 7th. These are the non-stop workers that keep trying to improve to help our people. This song, maybe you've heard before, but talking about all these heroes and not just talking about the dead, people that were killed, sacrificing their own lives, the soldiers, but every hero, even the woman in the supermarket who has a son that's a soldier in Gaza, who has her own personal story. It doesn't matter who you are, or maybe you did laundry for the days or volunteered in many ways. Everybody here is a superhero, and this song is about that. Again, I think you probably heard this song before, but I just want to say, here's my statement. I think we need it now. We're hearing so much of this, all the down and everything that's happening in the world, and the world is not happy with us and with what's going on in Gaza. And most of us are also not, it's not that we're happy about what's going on in Gaza. Everybody wants this to end in some way, that we could definitely agree on. And we're going through this horrible time, Jews around the world and in Israel, and citizens of Israel from every religion. And we need to hear a little bit of this a little bit of this salute to the superheroes. Listen to the words in English.
המורה לתנ"ך בגבעתי, המורה ללשון מודיעין, השכן מלמעלה קבלן עבודות, אבל חודש כבר במילואים. עורכת הדין היא קמב"צית, עושה משמרות באוגדה. אחיה איש הייטק בכיר, עכשיו הוא צלף על גגות ברצועה. מנהלת הסניף הקשוחה של הבנק היא סמג"ד ביהודה ושומרון. דורון הוא בעל חנות צעצועים, עכשיו הוא מ"פ בשריון. והמדי שלנו כפרה, שלרוב מזמר בקיסריה. הוא לוחם הנדסה, מתאושש בגבורה, אחרי שנפצע בלב עזה. נכון, כולם נראים רגילים, אבל אנחנו עם של גיבורי. בכל אחד תמיד מסתתר חייל, מוכן להציל את העולם.
I don't know about you, but it's needed. It's needed. Let's just say that. One sec. I did that again. And we need that inspiration. We need to hear these stories. We need to remember these people. We need to remember not only the dead, but the people that are doing for us and for humanity so much. The sites that we're visiting, going back to the tour guide job, if you were going to come to Israel tomorrow, here's what people are seeing right now. The most visited site in Israel, by far, is not Masada, is not Yad Vashem, probably not even the Kotel. 2 days ago, I was at the Nova Festival site that you're seeing in the picture. There were, 20 or 30 buses when I was there. They built a parking lot. The trees were always there, but this used to be before the Nova Festival in the night of October 6th into the morning of October 7th, and then the massacre. This used to be the place where people would come and have a picnic. This is where the red flowers used to bloom. That's why there's a memorial with the red flowers. And then there's the pictures of all these people in the background that were killed. So how is the memorial going to look? 364 people that were massacred here, men and women that were raped, tied to trees, burnt, horrible, horrible, horrible things that happened for hours. Listening to survivors at the site itself. This is Hila that I only met for the first time 2 days ago. The one with the black shirt, second from the right. It says Nova on her shirt. She goes around the world telling her story. She's an amazing, she has a very heavy Israeli accent. She's a brilliant speaker. Within 25 minutes, she made us feel exactly what she went through. And then she said the following sentence. At some point, I saw everybody getting on the road with their cars. I heard the shots. But then a guy told me to just drive on the dirt road towards the east, to drive to the sun. And when I heard that sentence, I said, you know what? I know who that was that told you to drive towards the sun, because I just met his father. Aviv Eliyahu is the son of Sinai Eliyahu. Sinai Eliyahu is a father that is dedicated to commemorate his son Aviv, who saved thousands of people. Aviv, in the picture here, is one of the 364 people that was killed in the Nova, but he wasn't massacred. He was in charge of security. He decided at some point that if people drive on Route 232 to the right, they're going to hit terrorists. If they drive to the left, to the north, they're going to hit terrorists. So he said, you see this dirt road? I don't care what kind of car or Jeep you have. Drive as fast as you can and get out of here. Drive towards the east. But see the sun coming up? This was at 6:45. Sun came up at 6:29. Start driving towards the sun. He literally saved lives until an RPG hit him. Pictures of 364 people on the right over here, and then the pictures of every one of them with those red flowers in the bottom, reminding us of the beautiful nature that used to exist here. This was a place of nature and picnics and fun before it was actually a massacre site. The second site that everybody's wanting to go to, and I think is very important, is to meet the people of Sderot, the first memorial that was built very, very quickly. And there's a big question here. Do you tear down all the houses or the safe rooms that were attacked? Or do you, and build memorials? Or do you leave some of them so people can see the actual authentic place where things happened? Here they chose to create pillars because this was the police station of Sderot that was taken over for almost 30 hours by Hamas terrorists. Many civilians and policemen were killed that day. The Hamasniks came into Sderot and conquered the most important security building, and that was the police station. The guy in the middle, the tall guy over here, is the head of the police today, and the little, shorter guy with the black over here with a black hat, I'm marking him right now. He's like fourth from the left. He's the guy who, under fire, the Hamasniks are in the police station. He himself is a police officer. He runs out of the police station and he runs to a car that has two kids in it right in front of the police station. Their father was shot. He was driving the car, but those two kids are yelling for help and he runs to them and saves their lives. So, we're here saluting them, but also I feel like this is a site that tells the story of one of the most fierce battles of what happened that day. Now, I'm looking at the clock and I realize it's already 11:24.
You can
So
go
I'm
on.
going to we're good, right?
Yeah.
We have a few more minutes. We can't end this without talking about maybe the symbol for many people of what happened on October 7th, and really the symbol of how people feel until this day. Some people in Israeli society feel that that in a way they've been abandoned, that the government doesn't really see them. Again, some. But for the people in Kibbutz Nir Oz, who had 400 people living in the kibbutz pre-October 7th and lost over 100 people that were either hostages or murdered by Hamas, for up until 1:40 p.m. This all started at 6:30 in the morning, up until 1:40 p.m. Look me in the eyes when I say this. There was no IDF soldier in Nir Oz. The terrorists finished doing everything they did, which was killing and raping and looting. And then they went back to Gaza with the hostages, leaving mutilated bodies, burnt homes. I told you before, 96% of the homes that exist today in Nir Oz were either shot at or are unlivable because they're totally burnt down. So there's nobody really living in Nir Oz except one or two families. These people feel like the IDF forgot them, like the government wasn't thinking about them, like they were not a priority. Why is everybody talking about Be'eri? Why is everybody talking about the other kibbutzim like Re'im or Kfar Aza? What happened? What happened to the story of Nir Oz? This is where they get their meal in their chadar ochel in the dining room. In red, it says the word of this family, and it says murdered. In black, it says kidnapped, hostages. In others, it says returned, right? This is what this kibbutz looks like 2 days ago. It's beautiful and it's green. This man on the right is Arnon Lifshitz, who grew up in this kibbutz. His father was the guy who was 84 years old, who was taken as a hostage to Gaza with his wife. His wife got out, and he was brought back dead a couple weeks ago. He's the one who grew the cactus garden. He was a peacemaker in the kibbutz in Israel. He was a journalist. He was a man that everybody appreciated. So the man on the right is showing us a tour of the kibbutz, but it's very personal for him because he's taking us also to the house of his father and mother. This is what the kibbutz looks like, but everything you're looking at is abandoned. You have these beautiful bougainvillea bushes and then burnt houses and all the writings near the door that basically say how many people were killed and if Zaka already checked that there's no remaining of any parts of body, and that the bomb squad checked that there's no remaining of bombs. This family, Adar, this man is a hostage that is still in Gaza. He's not alive anymore. His parents were adopted by my sister Shira, who lives down south. She got their golf car 3 days after Nir Oz was attacked. She went there in the middle of the night, got them their golf car, and they became family. All these families of Nir Oz live near Kiryat Gat, southern Israel, in these leased buildings, apartments, nice apartments, but they want to come back, most of them, to the kibbutz. The army doesn't want them back yet. They are not going to come back. They're still in trauma. Nothing's really rebuilt. And people like my sister are adopting families. And this is the house of Shiri and Yarden on the right, and on the left, Kfir and Ariel Bibas. 3 of these pictures are people that were murdered, and Yarden Bibas is still alive. These trips are all about bearing witness, going to places like Nir Oz and Kfar Aza and the Nova and Sderot, and hearing the stories and looking people in the eye, but it's more than that. It's literally physically hugging people. Physically hugging people, and then listening to their stories and showing them that you're with them, that when we say Am Yisrael, we actually mean all of us. The Jews from Washington, D.C. or Highland Park, Chicago or New Jersey or any other place in the world are the same people, and we care about each other. It's really weird to see people that are coming to Israel when missiles are shot towards Israel. When I was 2 days ago in the Gaza envelope, every 20 seconds there was a boom. There's a war going on in Gaza. It was scary. Even for me, there was a lot of booms. And yet this weird people, us, the Jewish people, all we keep doing is we come back. People are coming and they say, how can I help? Who can I hug? I want to hear the stories. I want to help. I want to show support. And the feeling that I have is that people come here to strengthen others, and they leave strengthened themselves from those hugs and from the inspirations of all these superheroes amongst us. I have to tell you the story of these 5 amazing souls, which is actually the Kedem family from Nir Oz. My heart was broken when I saw this, because the word over here on the bottom left, look at this beautiful family. I have twin girls. These are twin girls and a younger brother. And the parents, Tamar and Johnny, or Yonatan on the top right, and all 5 of them were murdered. All 5 of them were murdered in Nir Oz. We talk about the Bibas family. They're friends of theirs. Tamar on the left was this really, really not spiritual, energetic kind of person. She wanted to be the head of the council of the entire Gaza envelope area. She didn't win, but she was like always like this leader and educator. You go into their home, their burnt home. I was there 2 days ago, and it says the words Ahava v'Shalom.
One piece.
That's the difference, right? Ahava v'Shalom, Ahava v'Shalom, Ahava v'Shalom. And the people that came into their homes and burnt their homes and their family were definitely not those kind of people. Another place that I feel is very important to mention is the wall of gathering. It's called the Wall of Cars. It's like a wall of piled up cars from Route 232, the Death Road, the Kibbutz Road, where 1560 cars were collected after October 7th, brought here, checked by the bomb squad that there's no explosive in them. Zaka came in, these ultra-Orthodox Jews who volunteered to get the body parts, bring them to honorable burying. And then parents were allowed to come and see the car or the belongings that remained of their families. These were ambulances that were brought from the Nova Festival. And the ambulance on the left, not the one with the star, but the one on the left, further in the picture to the left, they found 18 pieces of DNA of different people that were served and helped in the ambulance. So 18 different people in one ambulance. These are from the Nova Festival. This is a Toyota car that was stolen from Nir Oz by the terrorists and then shot by our own chopper helicopters. They shot the terrorists that were in there. Look at the wall of cars. Imagine 1,560 of these. Each one of them has a story. Just like this man has a story. And this is Yisrael. And Yisrael Ziv is the father of Yaron, his son, that was killed in battle protecting the kibbutz of Kerem Shalom by the Rafah and Egypt border. He saved a lot of lives, his son, but Izar started an organization called Next October. He's not a member of Knesset anymore. He was part of the party before called Yesh Atid, but he goes around the world and tells the story of this new high-tech startup organization, and the slogan is Next October. They came to destroy. We are building a better world. Israeli resilience, optimism, entrepreneurial spirit. The next October will be better. The next October after October 7th means every startup that starts in Israel right now can be part of adopting a family of one of these soldiers, or families of bereaved families of soldiers or people that were killed in the Nova or in any one of the attacks from October 7th. And they're going to be part of the company, not as far as like making money, but more like making sure that the logo of the company is going to also tell the story of the family, tell the story of their resilience, tell the story of their son or daughter that lost their life. So
Moshe, what's his name again? What's his name?
Izhar Ziv. Actually, I just want to make sure I'm getting because I'm blacking out on the name, but it's Izhar Ziv. His son's name is Yaron. He moved us in a way that was unbelievable, it's just an amazing thing. I'll try and find it very quickly, or you can Google Rabbi in the meantime. Maybe that will help us move forward. Izar, a Chaver Knesset that lost his son Yaron. I think it's Izar Ziv, but in any case, another activity that people are doing is working in the fields, helping different agricultural people that lost their workers after October 7th, and just hugging these soldiers. These guys are 62 years old, both of them. I met them on the road with these two tourists I was guiding, and they have grandchildren, and they volunteer to be in reserves. This is the people of Israel. That's why I'm talking about people and not about places, because we can be inspired and understand that we'll remember the past, and we definitely have hope for a better future. All these projects of teens from LA hosting teens from the Gaza envelope, and they play basketball together, and later on these adults are the parents from LA who come and visit the Gaza envelope and make connections, going to injured soldiers and hugging them, and look at the shirt of Rabbi Avi Taff, and it says Kulanu Am Echad, whether we're from Los Angeles, from Temple Sinai, or we're from Tel Aviv, Sheba Hospital, hugging the soldiers. I can't explain to you how they were so moved to see us going into areas where the army trains to learn how to fight in tunnels, seeing some of the different missiles. This is a Houthi missile that landed in an army base. And this is the remains after it was intercepted. It mostly wasn't intercepted. It's a big thing. And all kinds of different activities of like flying an F-16, but really connecting that. So it's all tourism is basically about what's going on in the war. But the most famous activity with these days is actually sponsoring a meal, a barbecue for reservists or for soldiers, taking a picture of them, giving them that hug. The wall you see in the back on the left is the wall, which is the border of Gaza. So we're in an army base, and 100 meters from us, 300 feet, is already Gaza. Okay? We didn't hear a siren when we visited and made the barbecue, but these guys are the real heroes. If they can be there, we can be there as well. Paying respects at the cemetery, and putting an emphasis on resilience and rebuilding, tkuma, getting back on our feet. This is on the border with Gaza. I was just there, and this is what the kibbutzim look like today. They're out in the fields, they're working and they're flourishing. This is what Gaza could have been like if they used the billions of dollars they got to make a beautiful beach and hotels and resorts. But those billions of dollars went underground to 500 kilometers of underground army bases in the tunnels. You know, visiting all these different places. And one last thing is just how moved I was during the blessing of the priests on Pesach. Thousands of priests come and say the blessing of the priests, Yivarechecha Adonai v'yishmerecha, right? And ending with Yasem lecha shalom. God will give you peace. And then everybody sings Achenu kol beit Yisrael. Our brothers, the people of Israel, may God bring them out from to freedom from their captivity and from their darkness to light. This is the grandfather of Naama Levi, who you know she was a hostage, and she's back 3 days ago in Tel Aviv, saying in the hostage square, stop it. Stop the war. Because the hostages, I could tell you, because I was there, the walls fall down underground in the tunnels. I was almost killed from the bombings. So she's trying to say, I'm not a general, but I'm asking you to stop this and bring them home no matter what. We're hearing all these different voices about what should be done, but this is a voice for me that's very special. In every Seder we've had, there was an empty chair for her, for Naama Levi. She's back. She's back home with the 4 other watchers, the ones watching the screens of the border, controlling the border of Gaza. The men, the generals were never listening to them. Really, they didn't listen enough. These women were taken hostages. Many of their friends were raped and murdered. This is another song. I'm going to give up on the song right now just because I know we're a little bit short in time, and I do want to stay in the schedule. So I will mention the following. I said it a minute ago. You know, we always have to remember the past. We're not going to forget this. Tourism is changing. The way we're telling the story is changing. For me, it's about telling the story of the people in the Israeli society, the ones who were killed and the ones who are the leaders right now and really are the people that we should look up to. And not only the reservists, but their families and, you know, everybody that contributes in so many different ways. I really, really, really hope to see more and more. I hope the war, look, forget the PC. I hope the war ends. I hope our hostages are back now as soon as possible. I hope we kill the people of Hamas. I hope we manage as much as possible to not hurt people that are not Hamas, right? Those people should not be hurt. Of course, that's very difficult during war. We're not going to get into that discussion. And we as Jews don't want anybody that's not involved to be hurt. We also want to keep living. We live in an area, we're surrounded by neighbors that don't really love us. And I think we've learned one thing in the past year and 8 months. When someone says it to your face, I'm going to kill you. I will die to kill you. You have to listen to that. And you have to understand that they actually mean it. And much more important to that is to stand up with our flag, with our people, with the stories of our people, and say, Am Yisrael Hay. We're not going anywhere. We are strong. We're resilient. If there's one nation in the world that can talk about resilience, it's definitely us. Am Yisrael Hay. Last sentence is one of the things I'm doing when I'm not guiding. I'm only guiding a very small amount of the time this summer, unfortunately. So please come to Israel. please consider coming to Israel. I'd be happy to guide you or anybody you know. And also consider if you know congregations or you have an office and you're looking for some really cool landscape photography. These are some of the 135 landscape photos that I have. The website is followmosesphotos.com. And that's my email if you ever come to Israel and want to get a coffee. Thank you so much for listening. I would love to hear your comments and your thoughts.
Moshe, thank you so much for being with us. And here we all are. People are giving. Does anybody want to ask a question or say a word? If you want to do that, raise your hand because therefore you can unmute, or everyone can unmute and just say thanks. Now, Moshe, what's the next week? What are some of your plans for Shavuot and coming up?
We're going Shabbat. We're going to my parents' house. Shavuot in my little moshav called Beit Zait. While I'm not always going to shul as I used to. My wife's a little bit more religious than I do, but Shavuot, I'm definitely going for the limud. We go to a group in the moshav, even though it's not like a religious moshav. There's a few dozen people there's a minyan that's Sephardic and Ashkenazic. We go to the Ashkenazic and we go to JFK just for Kiddush.
Well,
right? So we come with the girls.
You'll be very much at home.
But my girls, here's the important thing. My girls love shul. So that's the important thing.
Yes.
Right?
Wonderful.
So that's and again, I just want to say how I treasure this. I know we didn't talk for a very long time, but I love seeing you all. I love having this connection with Highland Park.
Very special.
And it helps. I don't know how you do this with your fingers, but we really do love you here. We do appreciate you. We do realize not everybody can come or we can't hear all the voices. And you need to know that Israelis are thinking about American Jews as well. We understand that you're going through tough times as well and that your heart is with us. Our heart is with you as well. So it's great to be part of our people. That's what I want to say.
Well, on behalf of everyone, thank you so much, Moshe. It's great always to see you. We're going to check in with you again, probably in the next, quarter or whatever. It's great to, to keep up like this. And I think, a big takeaway is how everything is changing. The story is changing. That's what we spoke about. The story is changing and the way we tell the story is changing. And person-to-person contact, I think, makes the most difference. And for us, Moshe, you are our contact. So thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Have a
great
wonderful,
day and
Bahasla
beautiful Shavuot.
Yisrael Hay.
Chazak.
Okay, everyone.